Silver Fox and Coyote Create Earth, a story from the Miwok people of the West Coast. Back then, Silver Fox was the only one living. There was no earth, only water. Silver Fox walked through the fog feeling lonely, so she began to sing. I want to meet someone. 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 So she sang, and then she met Coyote. I thought I was going to meet someone, Silver Fox said. Where are you traveling? Where are you traveling? Coyote said. Why are you traveling like this? I am traveling because I am lonely, Silver Fox said. I am also wandering around, said Coyote. Then it is better for two people to travel together, Silver Fox said. Then as they traveled, Silver Fox spoke. This is what I think, Silver Fox said. Let's make the world. How will we do that? Coyote said. We will sing the world, said Silver Fox. So the two of them began to sing and to dance. They danced around in a circle, and Silver Fox thought of a clump of sod. Let it come, Silver Fox thought. And then that clump of sod was there in Silver Fox's hands. Silver Fox threw it down into the fog, and they kept on singing and dancing. Look down, Silver Fox said. Do you see something there below us? I see something, Coyote said, but it is very small. Then let us close our eyes and keep dancing and singing, said Silver Fox. And that was what they did. They danced and sang, and beneath them earth took shape. Look down now, Silver Fox said. Coyote looked down. I see it, said Coyote. It is very big now. It is big enough. Then the two of them jumped down onto earth. They danced and sang and stretched it out even more. They made everything on earth, the valleys and the mountains and the rivers and the lakes, the pines and the cedars and the birds and the animal people. That was what they did way back then. How the People Hunted the Moose, a story from the Cree of the subarctic. One night a family of moose was sitting in the lodge. As they sat around the fire, a strange thing happened. A pipe came floating in through the door. Sweet-smelling smoke came from the long pipe, and it circled the lodge, passing close to each of the moose people. The old bull moose saw the pipe, but said nothing, and it passed him by. The cow moose said nothing. The pipe passed her by also. So it passed by each of the moose people until it reached the youngest of the young bull moose near the door of the lodge. You have come to me, he said to the pipe. Then he reached out and took the pipe and started to smoke it. My son, the old moose said, you have killed us. This is a pipe from the human beings. They are smoking this pipe now and asking for success in their hunt. Now tomorrow they will find us. Now, because you smoked their pipe, they will be able to get us. I am not afraid, said the young bull moose. I can run faster than any of those people. They cannot catch me. But the old bull moose said nothing more. When the morning came, the moose people left their lodge. They went across the land looking for food. But as soon as they reached the edge of the forest, they caught the scent of the hunters. It was the time of year when there is a thin crust on the snow, and the moose found it hard to move quickly. These human hunters will catch us, said the moose. Their feet are feathered like those of the grouse. They can walk on top of the snow. Then the moose people began to run as the hunters followed them. The young bull moose who had taken the pipe ran off from the others. He was still sure he could outrun the hunters. But the hunters were on snowshoes, and the young moose's feet sank into the snow. They followed him until he tired, and then they killed him. After they had killed him, they thanked him for smoking their pipe and giving himself to them so they could survive. They treated his body with care, and they soothed his spirit. That night, the young bull moose woke up in his lodge among his people. Next to his bed was a present given him by the human hunters. He showed it to all of the others. You see, he said, it was not a bad thing for me to accept the long pipe the human people sent to us. Those hunters treated me with respect. It is right for us to allow the human beings to catch us. And so it is to this day. Those hunters who show respect to the moose are always the ones who are successful when they hunt. How Grandmother Spider Named the Clans, a story from the Hopi people of the Southwest. After Tawa, the sky god, and Grandmother Spider had made earth and all of the things upon it, Tawa went back up into the heavens. Grandmother Spider remained with the animals and all of the people there in the 4 great caves of the underworld. It was left to Grandmother Spider to put the earth into order. So Grandmother Spider gathered all of the living creatures around her. She began to separate the people into the different Indian nations, telling them how it would be from then on for them. So it was that she made the Ute and the Zuni and the Comanche and the Pueblo people and the Hopi and all of the others. She named them, and from then on they knew their names. So too, she gave all of the animals their names so that they also would know who they were. Then Grandmother Spider saw that life would not be good for the many animals and people there in the darkness of the underworld. With her 2 grandsons, the hero twins, beside her, she led the animals and the people up out of the 4 caverns. She led them till they came to an opening into the world above. They came out there next to the Colorado River, in the place where the people still go to gather salt. As they came out, the turkey dragged his tail in the mud, and his tail has been black-tipped ever since then. Grandmother Spider sent the mourning dove ahead to find good places for the people to settle, places where there were springs and good soil for corn. Then Grandmother Spider separated the people into clans. She chose one animal to lead each of those groups of people, and from then on, those people carried the name of that animal. So it was that the Snake Clan and the Antelope Clan, the Mountain Lion Clan and the Deer Clan and the other clans came to be among the Hopi. The people each followed their clan animal, and when they came to the place to build their homes, there they settled, and there they live to this day. How the spider symbol came to the people, a story from the Osage of the Plains. From the earliest days when they came together on this earth, the Osage people have been divided into 2 groups. These groups were the Sky people and the Earth people. The 9 clans of the Sky people always lived in the northern half of the village. The 15 clans of the Earth people lived in the southern half of the village. These clans looked to the animals to be their teachers, to serve as symbols for them to live strong lives. Each clan had more than one animal as its symbol. One of those clans was called the Isolated Earth People. This is the story of how the spider became one of the symbols of that clan. One day, the chief of the Isolated Earth People was hunting in the forest. He was not just hunting for game, also hunting for a symbol to give life to his people, some great and powerful animal that would show itself to him and teach him an important lesson. As he hunted, he came upon the tracks of a huge deer. The chief became very excited. "Grandfather Deer," he said, "surely you are going to show yourself to me. You are going to teach me a lesson and become one of the symbols of my people." Then the chief began to follow the deer's tracks. His eyes were on nothing else as he followed those tracks, and he went faster and faster through the forest. Suddenly, the chief ran right into a huge spider's web that had been strung between the trees across the trail. It was so large and strong that it covered his eyes and made him stumble. When he got back up to his feet, he was very angry. He struck at the spider, which was sitting at the edge of the web, but the spider dodged aside and climbed out of reach. Then the spider spoke to the man. "Grandson," the spider said, "why do you run through the woods looking at nothing but the ground? Why do you act as if you are blind?" The chief felt foolish, but he felt he had to answer the spider. "I was following the tracks of the great deer," the chief said. "I am seeking a symbol to give life and strength to my people." "I can be such a symbol," said the spider. "How could you give strength to my people?" said the chief. "You are small and weak, and I didn't even see you as I followed the great deer." "Grandson," said the spider. "Look upon me. I am patient. I watch and I wait. Then all things come to me. If your people learn this, they will be strong indeed." The chief saw that it was so. Thus the spider became one of the symbols of the Osage people. The Rabbit Dance, a story from the Mohawk, the Kanyenkahage people of the eastern woodlands. Long ago, a group of hunters were out looking for game. They had seen no sign of animals, but they went slowly and carefully through the forest, knowing that at any moment they might find something. Just ahead of them was a clearing. The leader of the hunters held up his hand for the others to pause. He thought he had seen something. All of the men dropped down on their stomachs and crept up to the clearing's edge to see what they could see. What they saw amazed them. There in the center of the clearing was the biggest rabbit any of them had ever seen. It seemed to be as big as a small bear. One of the hunters slowly began to raise his bow. A rabbit as large as that one would be food enough for the whole village. But the leader of the men held up his hand and made a small motion that the man with the bow understood. He lowered his weapon. Something unusual was happening. It was best to just watch and see what would happen next. The rabbit lifted its head and looked toward the men. Even though they were well hidden on the other side of the clearing, it seemed as if that giant rabbit could see them. But the rabbit did not take flight. Instead, it just nodded its head. Then it lifted one of its feet and thumped the ground. As soon as it did so, other rabbits began to come into the clearing. They came from all directions and, like their chief, they paid no attention to the hunters. Now the big rabbit began to thump its foot against the ground in a different way. Ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. It was like the sound of a drum beating. The rabbits all around made a big circle and began to dance. They danced and danced. They danced in couples and moved in and out and back and forth. It was a very good dance that the rabbits did. The hunters who were watching found themselves tapping the earth with their hands in the same beat as the big rabbit's foot. Then, suddenly, the big rabbit stopped thumping the earth. All of the rabbits stopped dancing. Ba-boom! The chief of the rabbits thumped the earth one final time. It leaped high into the air, right over the men's heads, and it was gone. All of the other rabbits ran in every direction out of the clearing, and they were gone too. The men were astonished at what they had seen. None of them had ever seen anything at all like this. None of them had ever heard or seen such a dance. It was all they could talk about as they went back to the village. All thought of hunting was now gone from their minds. When they reached the village, they went straight to the long house where the head of the clan mothers lived. She was a very wise woman and knew a great deal about the animals. They told her their story. She listened closely. When they were done telling the story, she picked up a water drum and handed it to the leader of the hunters. "Play that rhythm which the rabbit chief played," she said. The leader of the men did as she asked. He played the rhythm of the rabbit's dance. "That is a good sound," said the clan mother. "Now show me the dance which the rabbit people showed you." The hunters then did the dance while their leader played the drum. The clan mother listened closely and watched. When they were done, she smiled at them. "I understand what has happened," she said. "The rabbit people know that we rely on them. We hunt them for food and for clothing. The rabbit chief has given us this special dance so that we can honor its people for all that they give to the human beings. If we play their song and do their dance, then they will know we are grateful for all they continue to give us. We must call this new song the Rabbit Dance, and we must do it, men and women together, to honor the rabbit people." So it was that a new social dance was given to the Iroquois people. To this day, the rabbit dance is done to thank the rabbit people for all they have given, not only food and clothing, but also a fine dance that makes the people glad. The Deer Dance, A story from the Yaqui people of the Southwest. There was a man who lived in the country far away from any village. He made his living as a hunter, but he was always very respectful of the animals he hunted. This man's name was Walking Man. He always kept his eyes and ears open to everything around him, for he knew how special it was in the wilderness. It was to the wilderness that people went in their dreams, to the place they called Symbiotic. That name meant many things. It meant the home of all the animals. It meant the home of the deer. It meant the place where flowers live. It was said that the best songs always came to people from Symbiotic. One day, as Walking Man was out, he heard a sound from a hilltop. It was like a sound he had heard before at the time of year when the deer are mating. It was the clattering of antlers. He knew that the bucks would fight in this way during the mating time, striking their antlers together. But it was not that time of year, and this sound was different. It was a softer sound, and its rhythm was like that of a song. He went to look, but he could see nothing. The next morning, Walking Man rose before the sun came up and went back to that hilltop. He sat quietly on a fallen tree and waited as the sun rose. He began to hear that sound again, and he looked carefully. There, not far from him, were two big deer. They had huge antlers, and as they stood facing each other, they rattled their antlers together. Near them was a young deer. As Walking Man watched, he saw that young deer lift its head and lower it. It ran from side to side, leaping up and down. It seemed happy as it did this. Walking Man knew what he was seeing. He was seeing the deer do their own special dance. Though he had his weapons with him, he did not try to kill them. He watched them dance for a long time. When Walking Man went down that hill, he had a thought in his mind. There were songs coming into his mind. When he rose the next morning, he went out to walk, and as he walked, he found a newborn fawn where its mother had left it hidden among the flowers. He made a song for that fawn. Then he went to the village and gathered some of his friends. "I am going to make songs for the deer," he said. He took 2 sticks and made notches on one of them so that he could make the sound of the deer's antlers. He showed one of the boys in the village how the young deer danced and had the boy dance that way as they played the deer song and sang. So it was that the deer dance came to the Yaqui people, a gift from the deer, a gift from Symbiotic. Eagle Boy, a story from the Zuni of the Southwest. Long ago, a boy was out walking one day when he found a young eagle had fallen from its nest. He picked that eagle up and brought it home and began to care for it. He made a place for it to stay, and each day he went out and hunted for rabbits and other small game to feed it. His mother asked him why he no longer came to work in the fields and help his family. "I must hunt for this eagle," the boy said. So it went on for a long time, and the eagle grew large and strong as the boy hunted and fed it. Now it was large enough to fly away if it wished, but it stayed with the boy who had cared for it so well. The boy's brothers criticized him for not doing his part to care for the cornfields and the melon fields, but Eagle Boy did not hear them. He cared only for his bird. Even the boy's father, who was an important man in the village, began to criticize him for not helping, but still the boy did not listen. So it was that the boy's brother and his older male relatives came together and decided they must kill the eagle. They decided they would do so when they returned from the fields on the following day. When Eagle Boy came to his bird's cage, he saw that the bird sat there with its head down. He placed a rabbit he had just caught in the cage, but the eagle did not touch it. "What is wrong, my eagle?" said the boy. Then the eagle spoke, even though it had never spoken before. "My friend, I cannot eat because I am filled with sorrow," said the eagle. "Why are you troubled?" said the boy. "It is because of you," said the eagle. "You have not done your work in the fields. Instead, you have spent all of your time caring for me. Now your brothers and your older male relatives have decided to kill me so that you will again return to your duties in the village. I have stayed here all of this time because I love you, but now I must leave. When this is tomorrow, I will fly away and never come back." "My eagle," said the boy, "I do not wish to stay here without you. You must take me with you." "My friend, I cannot take you with me," said the eagle. "You would not be able to find your way through the sky. You would not be able to eat raw food." "My eagle," said the boy, "I cannot live here without you." So he begged the eagle, and at last the great bird agreed. "If you are certain, then you may come with me, but you must do as I say. Come to me at dawn, after the people have gone down to their fields. Bring food to eat on our long journey across the sky. Put the food in pouches so that you can sling them over your shoulders. You must also bring 2 strings of bells and tie them to my feet." That night the boy filled pouches with blue corn wafer bread and dried meat and fruits. He made up 2 strings of bells, tying them with strong rawhide. The next morning, after the people had gone down to the fields, he went to the eagle's cage and opened it. The eagle spread its wings wide. "Now," he said to Eagle Boy, "tie the bells to my feet, and then climb onto my back and hold on to the base of my wings." Eagle Boy climbed on, and the eagle began to fly. It rose higher and higher in slow circles above the town and above the field. The bells on the eagle's feet jingled, and the eagle sang, and the boy sang with it, "Huli-i-i, huli-i-i, pa-shish lakwa ah-ah-ah." So they sang, and the people in the fields below heard them singing, and they heard the sounds of the bells Eagle Boy had tied to the eagle's feet. They all looked up. "They are leaving," the people said. "They are leaving." Eagle Boy's parents called up to him to return, but he could not hear them. The eagle and the boy rose higher and higher into the sky until they were only a tiny speck, and then they were gone from the sight of the village people. The eagle and the boy flew higher and higher until they came to an opening in the clouds. They passed through and came out into the skyland. They landed there on Turquoise Mountain, where the eagle people lived. Eagle Boy looked around the sky world. Everything was smooth and white and clean as clouds. "Here is my home," the eagle said. He took the boy into the city in the sky, and there were eagles all around them. They looked like people, for they took off their wings and their clothing of feathers when they were in their homes. The eagle people made a coat of eagle feathers for the boy and taught him to wear it and to fly. It took him a long time to learn, but soon he was able to circle above the land just like the eagle people, and he was an eagle himself. "You may fly anywhere," the old eagles told him, "anywhere except to the south. Never fly to the Southland." All went well for Eagle Boy in his new life. One day, though, as he flew alone, he wondered what it was that was so terrible about the South. His curiosity grew, and he flew further and further toward the south. Lower and lower he flew, and now he saw a beautiful city below with people dancing around red fires. "There is nothing to fear here," he said, and flew lower still. Closer and closer he came, drawn by the red fires until he landed. The people greeted him and drew him into the circle. He danced with them all night, and then, when he grew tired, they gave him a place to sleep. When he woke next morning and looked around, he saw that the fires were gone. The houses no longer seemed bright and beautiful. All around him there was dust, and in the dust there were bones. He looked for his cloak of eagle feathers, wanting to fly away from this city of the dead, but it was nowhere to be found. Then the bones rose up and came together. There were people made of bones all around him. He rose and began to run, and the people made of bones chased him. Just as they were about to catch him, he saw a badger. "Grandson," the badger said, "I will save you." Then the badger carried the boy down into his hole, and the bone people could not follow. "You have been foolish," the badger said. "You did not listen to the warnings the eagles gave you. Now that you have been to this land in the south, they will not allow you to live with them anymore." Then the badger showed Eagle Boy the way back to the city of the eagles. It was a long journey, and when the boy reached the eagle city, he stood outside the high white walls. The eagles would not let him enter. "You have been to the Southland," they said. "You can no longer live with us." At last the eagle the boy had raised took pity on him. He brought the boy an old and ragged feather cloak. "With this cloak you may reach the home of your own people," he said, "but you can never return to our place in the sky." So the boy took the cloak of tattered feathers. His flight back down to his people was a hard one, and he almost fell many times. When he landed on the earth in his village, the eagles flew down and carried off his feathered cloak. From then on, Eagle Boy lived among his people. Though he lifted his eyes and watched whenever eagles soared overhead, he shared in the work of the fields, and his people were glad to have him among them.